right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we will talk about another player dealing with injuries, and that is Joel Embiid. So there's now the conversation of should the Sixers shut him down for the year? They have now lost 7 straight games. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference. They're 20 and 36. They have had you want to talk about the biggest disappointments? This is a team that is a major, major disappointment. 20 and 36. Now, they still have, if you want to say so you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah, they still have a chance to make the playoffs, be a play-in team. Because right now, they are 3.5 games out of that last spot. The Bulls currently control that. They actually also lost last night to the Bulls, 142-110, and Embiid did not play in that game. But yeah, they're 20 and 37 right now. So now is it 8 straight games? Yeah, so now they've lost 8 straight games. So yeah, they're 20 and 37. And yeah, I mean, even if they make the play-in, like, what are you trying to accomplish? Obviously, yeah, then you have a chance, but I mean, this is a lost season for the Sixers, and it's just another injury to add to the list for Joel Embiid. He's a guy that's been injured a ton of times over the course of his career, and I was watching a little bit of Jeremy Lapidus' show, a fellow sports host here on the network, and he basically broke down all of the injuries that Embiid has suffered, and it is a long list of injuries. Concussions, knee injuries, orbital fractures. I mean, it's anything you could think of. And it really does make you wonder, and he brought this up as well, is retirement on the table? I mean, I think Embiid still wants to play, but at some point, you really need to think to yourself, is it worth it? I mean, this is a completely different sport, obviously, but think about the toll, or how he described it. Think about the toll that all the rehabs took on Andrew Luck. He was constantly getting hurt, and at some point he said to himself, I can't do it anymore, and he retired. And Embiid, you wonder, when is enough enough? Where you finally sit back and say, I can't do this anymore. Because right now he's dealing with another knee injury, and they're trying different treatments for it, but knee surgery is definitely on the table. He's been constantly receiving injections and treatment, but it just doesn't really seem like it's doing anything. So, probably going to get surgery. And he's only suited up for 19 games this season. And on the season, if we take a look at his stats on the season, so yeah, 19 games, he's averaging 23.8 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, 4.5 assists. But again, in limited action. And it's one of the biggest reasons why, the Sixers are where they're at right now. It's just because he's been hurt. But also, you brought in Paul George, and, Paul George, he's also been dealing with injuries as well. This was a very disappointing year for the Sixers. And it's kind of one of those years you got to throw out, and hopefully next year you bounce back. Now, you got a franchise player in Tyrese Maxey that you could build around. So, I mean, he's kind of the lone bright spot, but they gotta add more to this team. I mean, now you got to focus on maybe trying to get a better draft pick. Kind of like what I was talking about with the Spurs. Focus on getting a better draft pick. I mean, obviously, players are not going to intentionally go out and, throw games, but what are you playing for at this point? So I do think it would be wise for the Sixers to just shut Embiid down and just hope that he can get healthy for next season. But that doesn't mean that another injury is not going to come up. So they're going to need a contingency plan. I actually wanted to take a look at his contract. So he signed a 3-year deal, and that's going to take him. Oh, so this is the upcoming extension. So this would take him through the 2028-2029 season. Or that's a player option, I believe. Yeah, player option for 2028. So, I mean, that's going to take him to when he's 34. I mean, he's dealing with all these injuries right now. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. And you wonder, would they try to move off of him if they were able to? Because it just seems like this is just too much. And look, he's accomplished a lot in his career, but he got the MVP that he wanted. Won the gold medal. But when you look at the Sixers and how they've done over this time, it leaves you wanting to see more out of this team. They have failed to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They always get knocked down in the second round. And you look at all the players that they have brought in and players that have left during this time. They had Jimmy Butler on this team. They had James Harden on this team. And it's just players have come and gone. Now you bring in Paul George, and the wheels just fell off this year. You really got to wonder what this team is going to look like next year. Are they going to run it back because of injuries, or are they just going to say, you know what, it's time we start over? Now, that doesn't mean trade everybody, because like I said, you have a franchise player in Tyrese Maxey. You're not moving off of him. But then again, Luka got traded, so, anything's on the table. But I think you might have to consider that. I mean, if you're going to have to eat some of that money, if you were to trade Embiid, then I guess you do it. But I think that's something that they might have to look into. Either that or try to run it back next year. Who knows? We'll see what ends up happening here. But, I mean, it's just been a lost season. I mean, for Philly fans, Philadelphia fans, you got the Eagles. So, that's the grand equalizer right there. I mean, you could say there's an imbalance because, I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So I don't know if them winning the Super Bowl is, equal to the Sixers just not being a good team. Probably not. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's just it's something the Sixers are going to have to consider. But yeah, I mean, the season, it's a lost cause right now. They've lost 8 straight. There's really, there's not that much time left. Could they make up the ground? Yeah, but it's not worth it. Even if they were to get in as a play-in team, you really think the Sixers are going to go on a run? They'd probably be a first-round exit. If they were to make it, and then they get to the actual playoffs, you're going up against either Cleveland or Boston. And you think the Sixers are going to get past those teams? No, they're not. So they got to shut it down. Shut it down and either maybe go into a rebuild or you try to reload for next season and just cross your fingers that Embiid could stay healthy. Because, the other thing too is, I mean, now he's at the point where he can't even play back-to-back. I mean, he's hurt now, but even before that, you heard that he can't really play back-to-back games. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to deal with. And when he's healthy, he's a great player. It's just one of those things. So, But let me know what you guys think about what the Sixers should do with Joel Embiid. Do you think they should shut him down? But also, I did bring this up too. You think he might be contemplating retirement? Maybe. It's possible. But you'd also be leaving a lot of money out there if you were to retire. So the Sixers, they actually play the Knicks on Wednesday. Then that would be a good bounce back for the Knicks if they can win that because, after getting blown out by, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, you need a get right game, and that could potentially be that. So they got the Knicks, the Sixers do. Then they play the Warriors, the Trailblazers, the Timberwolves, the Celtics, the Jazz. I'm not going to go through the whole schedule, but I mean, at some point you would think this losing streak is going to end, right? But yeah, they're 10-20 at home this season. They're 10-17 on the road, 3-8 in their own division, 14-23 in their own conference, and they're 1-9 in their last 10 games. And their last win came against the Mavericks, and that was at the beginning of the month on February 4th, 118-116. Man, right now they're even behind the Nets. Nets right now are 11th. They're 12th. But, going into the season, I don't think many people had the Sixers being this bad. I would have penciled them in as a playoff team. Because that's what they've been. They've been consistently making the playoffs every single year. But now, like I said before, the wheels just have completely fallen off. So, but we'll see what they end up doing. Let me know what you guys think about the Embiid situation in the comments. So when we get back from our next break, we will talk about the Packers wanting to ban the tush push. They were the NFL team that proposed the ban. And I wanted to get into that conversation and talk about that when we come back. We have Anna in the chat saying, "What's up? What's up? How's it going?" So we will talk about everyone's favorite thing in the NFL, and that is the tush push, and whether it should be banned or not. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.